nearly 100 million copies sold, 7 Guinness World Records in less than a month, Metacritic scores across all platforms averaging in the late 90s, on top of being one of the most controversial and hated video games at the same time. As video games go, Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of a kind, writing entertainment history for ages, along with the rest of the series, giving Hollywood a run for its money, and revolutionizing the way video games are perceived, demographic and gameplay wise. But its massive success tends to overshadow its origins. Not that many think about how much planning, design, and the blood, sweat, and tears it took out of the developers to reach to this point. Well, like the rest of the series, that's exactly what I'll be doing here. Rockstar games after Grand Theft Auto 4 were on top of the world. Wonder how many times I've said that. But even back in the last decade, we thought of Rockstar the same way we think of them now. And going into the 2010s, they continued that dominance with titles including Midnight Club Los Angeles, Max Payne 3, and Red Dead Redemption, with the latter seen as one of the best the publisher has ever produced. But behind the scenes, Rockstar North was secretly in the early stages of developing another follow-up. Where were they going to travel next? They've been to London, Manchester, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, San Francisco twice, Miami twice, and New York thrice. The developers chose to return to Los Angeles because it's what the fans would have likely wanted, including myself at the time. They felt it gave them the freedom to bring back the over-the-top style the 3D universe is known for, and Dan Houser saw the map of San Andreas as only a few small cities, plopped with different landscapes surrounding it, while not putting that much consideration into the geographic structure in real life. It didn't do the city justice. They've also visited LA during the 7th generation with Midnight Club Los Angeles, and the developers behind that game are based in San Diego, who knew a lot about the region. Rockstar wanted a huge open world with lots of goals, robbery missions, 3 playable characters, and a vast multiplayer experience.
We got work to do, Employee of the Month.
And while technology has increased making game development more complicated, so has global connection, which makes it easier for every studio worldwide to work together, with the last couple of games released under the name Rockstar Studios. So even though the Edinburgh base had their logo on the cover, the reality is that every single Rockstar studio worked on GTA 5. And despite their reputation for telling more than they show, this global connection also helped build levels of hype for GTA 5 that were limitless. I remember trying to find as much info on the game as possible far back as 2009, but nothing reliable, until October 2011, when Rockstar confirmed Grand Theft Auto 5 and a trailer. It was set in Los Santos. There were gameplay elements not in GTA 4, it looked amazing, and I thought I was dreaming.
But this place is a dream factory.
Well, maybe they have different dreams.
Before observing GTA 5, I never really paid attention to gaming news. I look around and buy whatever I like and not think about how much it was hyped, partly because my internet was beyond appalling. I might check out the reviews occasionally, but I mostly relied on word of mouth. However, by 2013, I was counting down each day. What was new? What did they improve? Was everything being planned virtually possible on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360? Being able to switch characters in real time, the size of the map, activities, customization options. I couldn't be more eager to play. I'm probably speaking from the heart more than usual, but I might have more fond memories of waiting for GTA 5 to come out than the hours I've played. That's how hyped it was. But after 5 years of development, marketing and delays, Grand Theft Auto 5 was released on September 17, 2013, worldwide for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, November 18, 2014 for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and April 14, 2015 for the PC. So, here we go.
The big one. The big one.
The big one! What is the big one?
The review of Grand Theft Auto 5. I already had an almost full review word count of brainstorms while working on the GTA 4 review, and written random notes as far back as ColourShed being established. When I was recording footage for this game for my first ever review, I knew I was going to look at GTA 5, and this is by far the most requested. I pre-ordered it over half a year in advance, and to this day is the only midnight launch I've ever bothered to attend, even if it was on a weekday, running out of the store as soon as I collected my copy. I was that excited. But now, Grand Theft Auto 5 is over 5 years old as of this review. It's been a long time, yet it's still popular as ever, even with the release of Red Dead Redemption 2. So why is that?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I guess we will, homie.
Keep in mind I will not be talking about GTA Online, but the single player story mode, the reason I bought it in the first place. As you can tell from the video length, there's already so much to talk about.
Everybody pays attention, no one gets hurt!
The game begins with a prologue set in 2004, a heist gone wrong. Michael Townley, Trevor Phillips and Brad Snyder rob a cash storage facility in Ludendorff, almost getting away, until Brad and Michael are shot by an FIB agent and an ambush ensues with Trevor barely escaping. 9 years later, Michael is living in Los Santos and befriends Franklin Clinton after attempting to repossess his son's car and doing a couple favors. But then after catching his wife Amanda sleeping with her tennis coach, he retaliates by ripping off the balcony of his house. Or so he thought. It turned out the house was owned by Mexican gangster Martin Madrazo and is forced to pay for the damages.
Looks like I'm gonna have to postpone my retirement.
So you're back in the game? I guess.
After successfully robbing a jewel store to pay back the money, Trevor Phillips, who was living by the Alamo Sea further away, sees the news by his trailer, realized that only Michael, who he thought was dead for nearly a decade, could pull off a score that was well planned,
Get 1,000 things every day. Make sure this is one of them.
and goes to Los Santos to find him.
It's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, do you have any other ways of looking at it? 'Cause I am all out.
Michael also gets in trouble with the FIB after breaking his witness protection cover, and is forced by agents Dave Norton, the one who shot these two, and Steve Haynes to do jobs to get ahead of their rival agency, the IAA.
My career depends on this, and that's very important to me.
And with these three combined, deal with drug dealers, Los Santos gangsters, Chinese gangsters, a billionaire investor, a dysfunctional family, and a private army, whilst pulling heists and pursuing the almighty dollar. Just saying it out loud, it's clearly one of the most exciting stories Rockstar has ever written.
Oh man, we're back in action.
Because there are almost 100 million copies of GTA 5 sold, there isn't much else that hasn't been said. Obviously there's more to it. Michael is a retired thief trying to live a normal life in Los Santos. Franklin is a gangster who wants to get out of the hood and work for something that matters. And Trevor is an out-of-control psychopath who runs a drug and gun smuggling business in the desert.
The guns and crank in this area go through Trevor Phillips' enterprise, or they ain't going!
The plot centers all three of these guys, which is a huge step up from just one. It makes the game much more complex, with each one having individual storylines with their own themes, as well as having a grand one with all three together. It can go from a meeting with Dave Norton, meanwhile Trevor is setting up a score, or the teaser trailers for the character individually. Very different tones.
That's Trevor, my best friend. That's Franklin, the son I always wanted.
And for the actors who portrayed them, it was just the perfect combination of chemistry and dedication. Ned Luke initially didn't want the role of Michael, not wanting to be in a video game, but completely changed his mind after reading the script, even gaining 25 pounds for the role.
I'm rich, I'm miserable. I mean, half the time my kids can't stand me, the other half my wife is cheating on me. I kill people without remorse, Doc. I'm pretty average for this town, really.
Sean Solo Fontino lived a similar life to Franklin's, so he was basically portraying a younger self.
I'm cool.
You cool? Cool what? Slinging dope and throwing up gang signs? Yeah, right.
And Stephen Ogg is dynamite as Trevor.
What was that? What was that?
I said you were dynamite.
Ah!
When he's around, things can go from 9 to 53 just like that. All the dialogue was done on a soundstage and motion captured, so it was more than just voice acting. Like this scene when Trevor accidentally trips on Franklin's fence. That was improvised. Everything just clicks when these guys are together. But is it better than GTA 4? Well, it depends on your preference because both games have opposite tones. GTA 4 has incredibly convincing dialogue that could rival some of the best New York gangster films of the 20th century. Shying away from movie parodies and combine these three together, it's one of the most underrated video game stories of the 7th generation. GTA 5 uses the same basic structure, having multiple protagonists in one city, making them feel more vulnerable than you think when only controlling one of them. However, here, everything is in chronological order. It relies heavily on the partnership between Michael, Franklin and Trevor, and the map being based on a completely different city gives it freedom to be more mischievous.
There was an Eastern European guy making moves in Liberty City, but he went quiet.
That's why Niko Bellic, for example, isn't anywhere to be seen. New York is meant to be the story of achieving the American dream, and Los Angeles is the endpoint for people to reinvent themselves, like Michael, according to Dan Houser. Or maybe it's the weather, or the, I don't know, that thing, that magic.
So that's why you here in Vinewood then, right?
Maybe I'm here because I'm just an idiot.
Rockstar went at length to discover every inch of Los Angeles and the outskirts of Southern California, spending a minimum of 100 days, shooting over 250,000 images and hours of video, watching movies, TV shows, meeting up with FBI agents, mafia experts, street gangsters, and even visited a prison to make the City of Angels as authentic as possible, while adding their own spin, their perspective of how the rest of the world perceives LA.
Verging suicidal?
That a line you're afraid to cross?
It's the first thing the developers start on when making a GTA game, and it's the most crucial piece that could either make or break the whole thing. It's until you see the map from the skies or mountaintops do you realize just how lively and gigantic it is, with its city, deserts, forests, mountains, underwater, full of wildlife and vegetation. Just breathtaking. It's in a league of its own. If you compare it to GTA 4 Liberty City, it's day and night. In that game, it took 1 minute and 12 seconds to fly from the airport to the prison. In GTA 5, flying from the airport to the top of Mount Chiliad, the tallest point on the map, took just under 3 minutes. And it takes around 8 minutes to fly around the whole thing with a plane. A jet? Well, they're hard to get.
I don't think you understand the effort I've gone to be here, pal.
Before it came out, Aaron Garber claimed this map could fit GTA San Andreas, 4, and Red Dead Redemption combined. And looking at it, no, it wouldn't. Unless what he really meant to say is that it takes all the positives of those 3 maps and puts them into 2013 State of San Andreas. So unsurprisingly, I was jumping around like a loony at midnight waiting for the game to install. After GTA 4, Midnight Club Los Angeles, Red Dead Redemption and Max Payne 3, the developers knew what the Rage engine was truly capable of. During the 3D Universe era, 3, Vice City, San Andreas, you get the feeling they were begging for another generation because what you see, even if they implemented every technical compromise imaginable, it would have been impossible because game engines weren't designed for maps like these, to make 3D replica cities in-game. GTA 3 was one of the first of its kind, and the developers didn't know that the series was going to go so far. But now that the genre is one of the most popular today, and with the developers at Rockstar among the best at it, they can think a bit more about design. The hardest part was trying to condense the map into something a video game could handle, but still feel like you were traveling through Los Angeles itself. This was Aaron Garbert's most important goal. In GTA San Andreas, as groundbreaking as that map was, it has lots of blank spaces with nothing. But it made sense because in real life you go to a desert like this, it's going to feel empty. Here, everywhere you go feels alive. It's not a grand scale for the sake of, hey, look what we can accomplish technologically. As you can see on this map, that's how much I explored after completing all the story missions, almost everything. It's hard to tell if Grand Theft Auto 5 is a 7th or 8th generation game. It came out for the PS3 and Xbox 360, but it feels like one of those games that's in the middle. Seeing what Leslie Benzies said, releasing it for the PS4, Xbox One and PC was inevitable. Obviously the graphics in this version have been enhanced. The cutscenes have a better field of vision, the weather effects look more detailed, there are additional sound effects and a longer draw distance, but if you compare the 2 generations, it gives you more respect for Rockstar's effort on the PS3 and Xbox 360 version. Either that or the 8th generation hasn't taken that much of a leap. I wonder why it hasn't been released for the Nintendo Switch yet. Imagine playing GTA 5 on the go. As for the differences between the PS3 versus Xbox 360 or PS4 versus Xbox One versus PC, well, according to Rockstar, they're virtually indistinguishable. There might be a few minor differences, but you clearly have nothing to do with your life if that's what you care about. And although every GTA title has its own theme song, this is the first one to have its own original soundtrack, composed by Tangerine Dream, The Alchemist, Woody Jackson, Oh No, and many more. You hear it in either missions or when you're flying.
Me? I'm just a lonely guy out dusting his crop. Who are you?
But don't worry, the radio stations aren't going anywhere, with almost every genre available and another fantastic setlist all around. The Hauser brothers previously worked in the music industry for BMG, and their passion for the medium shines in their games like this one. As I mentioned previously, multiple protagonists was something Rockstar wanted to do for a long time. They obviously did it in GTA 4, but this game allows you to switch between these 3 characters at almost any time, whether it's in the middle of a mission or free roaming and are just going about their business when they're not being controlled. So you get a hint of what they were up to, providing extra character development. The less said about Trevor, the better.
That is why you never talk unkindly to strangers, my friend. Morning after the night before.
The character switching during missions is seamless and almost instantaneous. For example, after robbing a jewel store, it switches to a character trying to get away, or shooting down a plane, then switching to another character chasing after that plane going down. In the predecessors, even GTA 4, most cutscenes during missions would use in-game animations. Not so here. Everything feels unique for every mission, and if you start one with a certain character, it'll play the cutscene based on when the character arrives.
Oh, we were just talking about you.
It's the little details that make a difference. Dan Houser also wanted to feel like an over-the-top Hollywood movie with its additional crazy moments, and throwing you into the action almost instantly. In the predecessors, you did small tasks like errands or melee combat, where it took around half a dozen missions before you even got your first gun, which is probably why so many prefer to ignore them and just rampage. But in GTA 5, the prologue immediately puts you in the driver's seat, and the characters are familiar with Los Santos, so they know what to do if things go wrong.
And the price of gas keeps on rising. Collateral damage,
Each protagonist has their own safehouse, which provides the same level of activity as GTA 4, including TV, internet, and wardrobe, regardless of house size. And phones have a quick save option no matter where you are. Speaking of phones, they play a heavier role in the gameplay, in which they do more than just take or answer calls. You can change the wallpaper, theme, ringtone, similar to GTA 4, but in that game you had to walk into cafes to use the internet. Whereas in GTA 5, that's on the phone too, and there are way more options, including purchasing vehicles and checking out emails. It coincides with the rise of technology between these two games, and is just as much of a convenience in the gameplay as it is in real life. You also receive notifications of anything that's unlocked, including weapons, upgrades, or vehicle parts, on top of property revenue and character conversations, which are more relevant than most messages in GTA 4. And on the PlayStation 4 version, foreign dialogue can come out of the controller speaker, which is pretty cool. Reminds me of the remaster of The Last of Us, although I have it turned off because it's always too loud. Continuing the subject of customization, the biggest criticism of GTA 4 was its lack of content compared to the rest of the series, especially now that GTA 5 is out. There are only 100 different pieces of clothing, if that, and no purchasable properties, customizable vehicles, planes, player stats, not even haircuts. It has about a third of what San Andreas provided, which came out 4 years earlier. As much as I love GTA 4 with its story and ragdoll physics, content-wise the city feels too empty despite its technical achievements at the time. In GTA 5, order has been restored. The customization options are diverse to the point where I can't even choose what to wear, and not just because there's more than one protagonist. Starting with the outfits, there are nearly 500 clothing options for Michael alone, and look, scrolling through and they load instantly. Now I know that sounds like a minor detail, but I'll never forget just how frustrating it was waiting 5 to 10 seconds for a piece of clothing to load. Even San Andreas is guilty of the same thing. And all the outfits are unique to the three characters, on top of the tattoos and haircuts which also return from San Andreas.
Whatever's in the shop is what I get. Jesus, what is this?
It's not an absence of taste, T. It's the opposite of taste.
Michael, Franklin, and Trevor have their own vehicle, which is impossible to lose. They'll always be at their main safe house if you lose it, and you can even purchase large garages in Los Santos, which is handy if you find a special vehicle you love.
This I gotta try.
And if you want to do more to it, the pay and sprays have been replaced with full tuning garages, bringing back the customization options from San Andreas, and is nearly as deep as the street racing titles Midnight Club and Need for Speed in the 2000s. Even bikes can be customized. If only there were vinyl and decal options, then the Midnight Club series wouldn't be necessary anymore. Don't worry, I'm joking. Point is, it's a huge step up from driving in, random color, and that's it. Despite the larger map, taxis aren't as prominent because most of the mission markers are in the city, though they can come in handy when in the middle of nowhere and want to get to the preferred destination fast. It's fun to drive cars and motorbikes in this game. They're faster, more controllable even in mid-air, and if you're upside down, you can roll them back in place. I know some people like the realistic mechanics of GTA 4, and that's fine, but it's GTA. I don't mind if it takes liberties as long as it makes the gameplay more fun. And remember when I said it took around 8 minutes to fly around the whole map? Well, in addition to helicopters, planes return from San Andreas and they're crucial in a lot of the story missions. Sometimes they wobble, but being able to use them again on this map is so much fun. Also, if you're going down, you can use a parachute to ease the landing, and give the first person you see a beating, just because.
Look at me! What'd you expect?
And I'm saying that because it's the only way I can segue from planes and helicopters to the melee controls. It uses the same formula of kick, punch, and counter, along with an array of melee weapons. I remember in GTA 4 trying to find opportunities to stun attack because it appeared a couple of times marked as a red dot, and never again after that. In GTA 5 you can do it almost any time you want, whether it's shocking or silent. In fact, moving around in general is a lot better. It seems that Rockstar improve on this aspect every game. Climbing ladders, walking, moving past platforms, parachute control, it feels more fluent than any Rockstar game up to that point. Although after playing Metal Gear Solid recently, I wish there was a prone position mechanic. That could have opened up a lot of stealth-based mission opportunities, like tunnels to crawl or camouflaging into the environment. Maybe in GTA 6? However, the ragdoll physics aren't as fun. It's like the Earth's gravity has increased over the last 5 years or something. If it's not broke, don't fix it. The only time it looks insane to the eye is when you've selected the first person camera view, which was the biggest selling point and is the feature in the 8th gen version that stands out. Question is, why would anyone want to be in the footsteps of Trevor Phillips?
Well, please, alright, you'd alleviate the boredom.
Rolling and jumping up platforms remind me of Mirror's Edge, and even sunglasses and helmets affect the brightness. Playing the whole game in first person would make for an interesting challenge, because while the controls are exactly the same, you can't see as much of your surroundings compared to the third person view. I would have liked for it to stay in first person during the cutscenes, based on what the character you've currently selected, like the VR version of Elena, but it's still pretty cool to experience GTA from that perspective. Although for most of the playthrough I stuck with the third person, because that's what I prefer.
Melvin! How you feel about brand synergy, huh? TP Industries, Ammunation.
The gun shops are much bigger compared to the predecessors, with not just every weapon imaginable, but also upgrades like flashlights, silencers, color skins, ammo type, and scopes. You can even customize the parachute and purchase hunting outfits, although I'm pretty disappointed that there's no t-shirt saying, "You're about to get a good look at my other 44s. If you play GTA San Andreas, you know exactly what I mean. A lot of these new weapons are alternatives to already existing weapons, but unlike the predecessors, whatever you pick up, it doesn't replace another. So much choice. And the shooting range returns from San Andreas, which increases your weapon skills, on top of everything else like driving, flying, running, and sneaking. The stats don't affect gameplay the same way it did CJ and San Andreas, and it doesn't take as much effort to increase them, but at least it's there and it makes a difference. And the special abilities unique to each character give you a perfect idea of what their biggest strength is. Michael can bullet time similar to Red Dead Redemption, and can pick off enemies easier. Trevor can red mist, increasing bullet damage and resistance, similar to Scarface The World Is Yours. But my favorite special move would be Franklin's driving focus, similar to Midnight Club LA, because I'm always driving top speed, and one slip up can create all sorts of consequences. Whereas with firing weapons, targets can automatically be locked on depending on your preference, and weapons do enough damage anyway, whereas driving around you have to be on your game, and with Franklin it's easier. Don't expect it to work well on motorbikes though. It's not starting from the bottom of the barrel to being the biggest businessman in the city or state capable of superhuman powers. Each character has their own strengths and weaknesses, and while you can max them all out, their special abilities still determine their character.
We gotta take out that chopper! Cash your pension! Strong, dog!
Another thing people criticize the GTA series for in general is the fact that you start at point A, then go to point B by going to someone, whether it be killing or meeting up with them with different routes. The developers tried to make sure it wasn't the same game in a new city with better graphics.
We're working, amigo. Taking a score.
Unlike GTA 4 and the mission 3-Leaf Clover, where you're told what to do and immediately go in and escape, GTA 5 is all about planning the heist, which includes going to the building, scoping the place, gathering information, creating multiple options, hiring crew members based on how good they are and cut percentage, doing small missions to gather equipment, and finally doing the heist itself.
And there's two ways I see of doing this. We go in smart. Let's go. Or we go in loud and dumb.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your moment! Please don't make me ruin all the great work your plastic surgeons have been doing. On the floor, now!
The two options are very different from each other, and crew members have their advantages and disadvantages. A successful score improves their stats, so sometimes it's better to use worse people, because the more you do, the bigger the cut. Some crew members can be found in random encounters, which I'll get to, and pay rates tend to be lower than their talents, so keep aware.
Think of me, Packy McCreary of Duke's LC.
Some of the missions setting up for a heist can be boring, especially the Merryweather one, but that's all part of it. You could say it's a price to pay for making it feel less like a point A to B mission. And you can try out the other approach later on just to see what it looked like, because you can replay missions in the main menu after completing them, although the skill accumulated throughout the campaign will be reset.
Any questions? No? Let's go.
Like the Ballad of Gay Tony and Chinatown Wars, whenever you complete a mission, you'll get a checklist of other little tasks including time limits, weapon accuracy, and headshots to challenge you, with a percentage and medal of how well you performed in that mission, with 50% the minimum score. The only thing annoying about these are the timed ones, because the clock is running during cutscenes, so you have to skip them to have a chance at the gold. But if you're playing the first time, you need to watch them to understand what's going on. At least there's no time limit for what the rest of Los Santos has to offer. In fact, there's so much here, you don't need to complete 100% to reach 100%. Okay, hear me out. Just like the predecessors, the map is full of crazy things to do. Although it introduces a few new activities, most of them have just been altered from the predecessor, but more than enough to stay fresh. Like the assassin missions, for example. Instead of just being like the story missions with no cutscenes, the targets represent a business in the stock market, so whatever mission you do will affect it in some way. On the internet, in-game I mean, there's a website allowing you to purchase stocks, which means if you assassinate a target and purchase stocks from their rival in advance, it goes up, and it's an easy way to make truckloads of money. Honestly, it's too complicated for me, and there's a glitch where it doesn't save your stocks. It happens almost every time. At least I have the autosave turned off. It's only worth taking advantage of if you want to purchase everything in this game, including clothes, vehicles, and properties. The latter returns from Vice City and San Andreas, and there'll be a few little side quests for those which affect revenue, but always seem to be automatically triggered at the worst time. Like if you're in the middle of collecting a letter scrap on top of a skyscraper crane, don't be afraid to say no every once in a while. That being said, these properties kind of represent part 2 of the story mode, controlling the destiny of all these characters. After all, the city is full of strangers and freaks. In GTA 4, there were random characters which triggered mini missions. Here they're renamed strangers and freaks, and random events are completely different, in which they literally appear randomly without a marker or cutscene, but are a way to either make money or improve the stats. Like if someone is being robbed, you can go after that person, take back the money and either keep it for yourself or return it to improve your stats for the character.
My good deed for the day.
You're my hero. I can't thank you enough.
The racing is at its most diverse, even more so than San Andreas, ranging from the road, off land altogether, different vehicles, triathlons, all over the map. But like San Andreas, there's more than one thing to collect, like submarine parts, nuclear waste, and Epsilon tracks. But the only ones that are part of reaching 100% are the letter scraps and spaceship parts. What I like about this aspect of GTA 5 is that whenever you collect something, it auto-saves, which is extremely convenient. Other things include playing fetch with Franklin's dog Chop, flying under bridges, playing tennis, golf, flight school, time trials, watching a movie in a cinema, purchasing a vehicle on the internet, stunt jumps, parachute jumps, story missions, obviously, and doing most of these things with a friend you can call on the phone, which you can do with more than one person unlike the predecessor. If I explained every detail of things to do in GTA 5, this review would be twice as long.
There you go.
Actually, golf in particular is a surprisingly enjoyable minigame with decent mechanics, and it's funny to hear Trevor lose it when driving it into the water.
Laugh and I'll stick this club in your kidneys!
Yeah, just don't laugh when it happens. There are also other activities including yoga, scuba diving, bounty hunts, animal hunts, arms trafficking, the rides on Del Piero Pier, and everything exclusive to the 8th generation version if you transfer your save progress from a previous generation, which is stupid I think, like the murder mystery side quest, monkey mosaics, and stock car racing, but they're absent from the 100% checklist. So if you're curious to know what activities are required, a quick search on the internet will give you what you need. You can check your progress in the main menu and it has its own subcategory which is easier to understand, and there's a more detailed checklist on your phone. Keep in mind that activities for all 3 characters add to the total percentage together, and there'll be activities and missions only certain characters can do. Aaron Garbett wanted to put so much content into this game that the whole experience goes beyond your imagination. Like there's always something you haven't done yet, even after reaching 100%.
Now, this is a middle-life crisis I can enjoy.
Just expect to generate heat every once in a while because the police are at their most resilient. The wanted system needs no introduction, and like GTA 4, you have to keep out of sights to evade them, but for a way longer amount of time, and it's almost impossible when driving something slow. You can't switch characters while wanted, which is fair. But what I don't understand is that whenever you attract 1 star, once you get spotted, all of a sudden you get 2 stars and the police shoot at you. Basically everything attracts a 2-star wanted level.
Is that it? Are they gone?
Of course they're gone. Who are you talking to?
Or if you play GTA 5 the way it's mostly known for, then they're nothing more than an obstacle. Obviously, like the predecessors, it still has the basic structure in which the missions are there, but you can ignore them and do whatever you want.
I mean, things could get really messy. I'll swing by and sign the contracts, alright? Just ignore the bodies.
But even though the map is available right off the bat, I still complete everything first, collect weapons and increase stats. I don't know, I just get a kick in doing all the activities and missions as much as the free roam rampaging the series is mostly known for. It's especially fun with the slow motion and invincibility turned on, and they can be activated using button combinations, not phone numbers like GTA 4. But regardless of whether you use cheats or not, just make sure you don't save after using them, otherwise it's impossible to reach 100%. The free roaming experience the series is most notable for, as far back as when the camera view was overhead, especially on a map like this, it never gets old. However, it's not for every single person, as the series is also notable for generating controversy. In fact, GTA 5 might be the most heated of the series. Maybe not as much as San Andreas with its hot coffee fiasco, but there's enough there that if I go through all of them in detail, this would also make the video twice as long.
Real professional.
The most obvious one is the by the book mission, where you need to torture someone for information to assassinate a target. There's no way to skip it, and at the end of the mission, Trevor also criticizes the media and government for thinking that torture is a means of getting information. And while some noted its political commentary, this mission was condemned by the media and anti-torture activists, thinking that Rockstar went too far with it.
The anticipation is always worse. Really?
On December 2014, GTA 5 was pulled from Target store shelves in Australia after a Change.org petition demanded it because of the game's violence against women. TV personality Karen Gravano and actress Lindsay Lohan both sued Rockstar because they claimed a couple of the minor characters are based on their likeness, and hip-hop artist Daz Dillinger sent a cease and desist letter to Rockstar over the use of his music, although as recently as 2016, all cases have been dismissed. These were just the reactions from non-gamers. Even fans of GTA 5 had their moment of outcry on June 2017 when Take-Two Interactive sent a cease and desist letter to the developers of Open 4, who specialize in mods for GTA games over the last couple of generations, believing it hacked the security of GTA Online and effectively banning single-player mods. The Steam user reviews that month summed up the reaction in a nutshell.
And he kinda got a little angry, so I admit, I kinda got a little angry.
Even other GTA games that were on Steam but not part of the modding software had thumbs down in protest.
Bud, your negative energy is seriously bringing me down.
Oh, I hope it is, Bud.
Fortunately, Rockstar Games representatives stepped in to resolve the issue, and Open 4 was back online in a matter of days. Despite all this, Dan Houser sees their games as no better or worse than books, TV or movies. Their intentions are to make the highest quality product possible, not deliberately cause controversy, and producer Leslie Benzie says that people just want to be entertained, because the industry hasn't been taking as many risks in the past.
Now it's just superheroes, romantic comedies, and remakes, none of which interest me.
Because 5 years later, GTA 5 is still socially relevant, still selling copies, and with what I just said then, he's got a point.
Even in this world full of scum and detritus, it's only right that we all bear our share.
Ain't that the truth?
As of 2018, over 95 million copies of Grand Theft Auto 5 have been sold. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits 100 million and has generated over $6 billion in revenue. More than double what Avatar made at the box office.
There is a lot of gold in here.
In terms of memories and groundbreaking features, GTA San Andreas is still my favorite. It's subjective because there's no such thing as the best Grand Theft Auto game. They're all brilliant in their own ways, and GTA 5 is definitely one of them. It brought me back to a few months before it came out, realizing just how mind-blowing this map is and what you can do with it. I can't stress that enough. It's easy to forget these things because it's been out for a while now. Nearly 100 million people have played it. Its online aspect has made it very polarizing, and Red Dead Redemption 2 has just come out. But when you take a step back and a hard look at Los Santos, with a story mode that's at least 20 hours long, 3 protagonists, half a dozen genres combined, and one of the biggest and most interactive open world maps set in the 21st century I've ever seen.
We will be making history. Sordid, nasty, depraved history. But history, nonetheless.
This is one of the best games of both the 7th and 8th generation, and I can't even imagine what's next for the series, because although it'll be a long time before another one comes out, I doubt this will be their swan song. There hasn't been anything like this, and it'll take something beyond special to even come close to what Rockstar have accomplished.
Tell you one thing, T. I'm getting too old for this nonsense.